Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back for another video with the Terminator. Today, I'm doing another amazing interview with the developers of Vedelem The Golden Horde. I did a nice kind of spotlight video on them last week, which was really cool. I hope you enjoyed that. And today we're going to be talking to the devs, the university students who made this amazing game come to life and learn more about the game itself and possibly its future. So without further ado, we got Claudia, Tom, Bo, and Jesse here, who are the developers of the game. We're going to run through some awesome set of questions and yeah, hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. Let's start with a around the table, guys. So tell me about yourself, where you're from, what you do in the development team, and yeah.
So I'm Claudia. I'm from the Netherlands. I am one of the two artists that worked on the buildings for this project.
My name is Tom. I am the audio designer and for Project Vedelem. And early in the project, I also did level design and system design during the concepting phase.
Cool. Sounds
Yes,
good.
I am Bo. Sorry, I'm Bo. I'm from the Netherlands as well. My main role is character artist, but for the project Vedelem, my roles were art lead, character artist, and marketing art.
My name's Jesse, and I did the production and the marketing for Vedelem The Golden Horde.
Nice. Awesome. Well, welcome, guys, to our interview here today. And it's very nice to meet you and get this going. We're going to move on to our next question here, which is, how did you get into game development, and what is your dev history like? Have you worked on games before, Vedelem?
Okay, I'm just gonna start first again. Um, so yes, we all worked on other projects before because in our school you can't really get to this point without having done that. We would not have passed our previous blocks otherwise. Um, and getting into game development for me was a very obvious choice because I never knew what I wanted to do with my life, and I think a lot of people feel that way when they're fresh out of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like a folder from a student counselor with the IGET University or the Breda University, sorry. They gave it to me for a different education, but when I was flicking through it, I ran into the IGAT page, and it just stopped me dead in my tracks, and I absolutely fell in love. And I applied to it, and I mean, I didn't have a plan B, so it's a good thing they let me in, you know. But yeah, for me, I always wanted to do something artsy, and this really fits me perfectly.
Nice. Sounds good. No plan B. Straight in.
No plan B, never.
Okay. How about you, Tom?
Well, I've always been a natural entertainer. I really liked telling stories. I really liked, making people laugh. But I've never been the kind of person to get on a stage and, do it in front of large crowds. I've tried and, it wasn't my favorite thing.
Hmm.
But as I grew up, I played a lot of video games. And so when I got handed a list from my counselor being like, okay, you got to choose one of these things to do after high school, I just ticked the box that said games programmer. And yeah, that's pretty much where I went. Now, I've completed that education since, and then I decided programming wasn't for me, and I switched to design at BUAS. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at now.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay. How about you, Bo?
Yeah, kind of the same story. I actually didn't know that game art was a study you could go to. I really enjoyed drawing and playing games, and then someone told me that there was an education for it, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna try that out. So I actually did a MBO before BUAS. It mostly focused on 2D, at least I did, because 3D scared me.
Yeah.
And at one point, once I graduated there, I noticed that there weren't a lot of job opportunities if you did 2D. So it was my time to broaden my horizons and try out the 3D world. So I also didn't have a plan B there, and I only applied to BUAS because they had a really good reputation. So I got in, luckily. And the first year you experiment a lot. Like there was a lot of directions you could go in, and after like 2 years, I figured out that character art really interested me the most. It's like
Hmm.
a great combination of feeling close to what you're making. It's sculpting, so you're actually drawing on top of a 3D model, which is great. The perfect combination for me.
Nice. Sounds good. And you overcame of your fear of 3D artwork, it seems.
Yes, I'm very proud, and I still have a lot to learn.
Nice. Sounds
Nah,
good.
Bo,
And
you're too humble. You're really good at it.
absolutely.
Shut up.
Absolutely. Okay, how about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I basically came straight out of high school, so I also, as my peers here, didn't really know what I wanted to do. It's a little bit like, yeah, don't know what I really like, what I want to do with my future. And then our high school actually forced us to go to presentations, like introduction presentations of different high schools and educations. And then you had to like pick at least two or three. And then I picked the military because my dad's in the military, and that was kind of interesting for me as well.
Mhm,
But I also saw games, and I was like playing a lot of games back then. I was like,
mhm,
yeah, sure, why not? So I went to that presentation, and then somebody from Buas came and showed off, yeah, their stuff, what they're working on, and they also showed some games that I was actually playing at that moment. I was like, yo, I recognize this stuff, and I've been there, I've done that, and
mhm.
that actually got me really interested, and so that kind of became my plan A as well, and I just yeah went for it, and luckily got accepted because I also didn't have a plan B,
Nice.
and yeah, now we're here, 3 years ahead.
That's awesome. Wow. All of you going like right into it without a backup plan. And yeah, as you said, 3 years later, here we are with a fantastic game that you guys released, which is
Thank you.
awesome. Well done,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right, nice. Well, let's yeah, actually before we move on. So we've definitely developed games before. How many have you released kind of before Vedelem?
Before Vedelem 2.
Okay, two.
Vedelem is the third one.
Okay, yeah,
Is this the part where I market them as well, or should we just
yeah.
move
If
on?
you want to, yeah, sure. What are
No,
they?
they're pretty bad.
They're pretty bad. Okay, how about you, Tom? You're thinking, you're kind of looking around like, how many?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which games I actually like released into the wild.
Yeah.
Because there's like hundreds of prototypes that are just on my PC,
Hmm.
waiting to be turned into full projects. But the ones that I've actually released is a game called Crowd King, which I made in the second year of BUAS, so the same school. And
Hmm.
then I I'm not sure if this ever released, but I did a project for a DJ called Don Diablo.
Okay.
We made like a VR racing game where you had to use your head to move around. It was
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd
Interesting.
say like two as well,
Okay. Nice, nice,
if
nice.
that game did release.
Okay. How about you, Bo?
I think I have three, including film in like this school, and I had an internship where I also did one game that another intern took over from me after I left, which then turned into 3D. So it is released, but not my work anymore. But I still was pretty proud of it. Just the ones that the clients wanted the 3D halfway through, they'd be like that sometimes.
Okay.
So
So
I
you were
guess
like,
four.
okay, nice, nice. Sounds good. How about you, Jesse?
I think for released games, that'd be two, which is Vedelem and Fairytale Fix Up, also a year two project that I worked on,
Mhm.
and then two playable prototypes that we've done, also both in Buas
Nice.
during the
Sounds good.
course.
All right. So yeah, it sounds like a really hands-on program in terms of like you get to learn a lot about the tools that you have and actually put them to work and make some games as well before Vedelem, which is really cool. Very nice.
Yeah,
Pretty
definitely.
much.
Okay, cool. Well, just out of curiosity then, for this project for Vedelem, what are you guys being assessed on and like how is your kind of success? What are your success metrics based on for the course?
Ah, so how we are assessed by the teaching team is basically we have intended learning outcomes, also known as ILOs within the course.
Mhm,
And these intended learning outcomes basically state, like in small sentences, what they want you to learn. So, for example, cooperation, teamwork, but also it could be something like, oh, actually release events, preparing those. And that kind of stuff. And then basically what we need to do is we need to prepare presentations that we call the learning log. And we got to show for the 8 weeks of development that we go through per semester, we've got to show how we actually are contributing to these ILOs and how we think that we're actually achieving them as well. And then at
mhm.
the end of the semester, like the last 2 weeks of it, the teaching team actually looks at our logs, goes through them, and actually assesses like, okay, is this person, this individual actually learning what they are supposed to learn at this moment, and then we get a grade accordingly.
Nice. So it's not so much the end product, but all your contributions to it and working together to make it happen as well.
Yeah, you're being very much assessed on like the process.
Mhm.
So even if you end up with a good game or a bad game, it's all about what you contributed to it and how you show that you've learned from that contribution.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a great game, so you guys must have worked together to make it happen and contributed. I don't see that happening.
It was lots of work, that's to be sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure, absolutely. Okay, well, let's move on to a bit more of an informal question. I'm gonna throw it out there, see what comes out. But what are your all-time favorite games? Not just PC, could be console, whatever. What are your favorite games? Let's start with Claudia.
Yeah, I'm glad you included console because favorite game of all time, best game ever made. No one can change my mind on this. Shadow of the Colossus. I think it's beautiful. Not the PlayStation 2, not the PlayStation 4, not the PlayStation 3 version. It just hits me in the right place. It's just I love it. Um, then on top of that, I really like Brothers: Tale of Two Sons,
Hmm.
and I'm currently replaying Unravel, which is just beautiful. Like the music, the lighting, the models, and everything about it is just amazing.
Hmm.
Um, what else? I forgot what I said before. Did anyone remember what I said before?
You said Journey as well.
Oh shit! Yeah, Journey.
That's the only
Uh,
one I remember. I love
Journey
Journey.
is Journey is beautiful. Journey is good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely up there as well. And then Tomb Raider 2
Oh yeah, that's
because
right. Yep.
childhood memories. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, totally. I totally get that. I played Shadows when it first came out, and yeah, it's such a good game, and Journey as well. When that first came out, was just so different and interesting. Very short game. It doesn't need to be that long, but it was just perfectly done, in my opinion. Okay, cool. Great answers. How about you, Tom?
Well, in no particular order, I would have to say Dishonored. I think it's partly the time in which I played it, which was like when I was still like a teenager, and so the fantasy really connected with me of being this awesome assassin where you could mess with the guards and just look incredibly cool.
Hmm.
Dark Souls 1 is kind of in the same vein where I played it um, when I could like really connect deeply with a game that was like, really hard and where you had to struggle. And another one would be Team Fortress 2. I don't know why, but I just found the gameplay incorporated the humor uh,
Hmm.
like really well, and it was my first shooter as well. So I just fell in love with that entire genre because of Team Fortress 2.
Okay.
Um, then Fallout New Vegas, probably.
Hmm.
It's I'm not really an RPG kind of person, but New Vegas for some reason just hooked me in. All the characters are amazing. The gunplay still feels pretty decent, even though it's a dated game at this point.
Hmm.
And then the last one would be VR chat. I'm an extremely social person. I like meeting new people. I like talking to people and really finding out what makes them them. And VR chat just offers that in a way that no other game can really do, or no other experience can really do. You can
Hmm.
meet people from all around the world, and you can actually see them and almost feel their presence next to you, which just is such a unique experience. So yeah, that may be my like rough top five in no particular order.
Okay, nice. Yeah, great games. I mean, Dishonored when I first played it, absolutely reminded me of Thief, a game that I grew up with, playing with my
Mm,
dad, and it's just such a great, interesting type of game. It's that
yeah, for sure.
kind of shady assassin type of yeah, that genre is great set of games you got there. All right, how about you, Bo?
Well, I generally don't have this particular order either, except for one, which is Pokemon. Pokemon actually got me into drawing. I
Hmm.
started drawing at like age 6 and just copied Pokemon cards like awfully, but I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm still doing so till this day. I just love their designs and what the world, etc.
Hmm.
And other games also from my youth is Guitar Hero. It sadly is not bringing out new games or anything, and my guitar is like broken down, but I still love the game a lot.
Hmm.
And the games that I play currently are mostly Apex Legends, League of Legends, and TFT.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think there must be. I want to just spitball and say like 6 out of 10 people, like loads of people, probably are guilty of playing Pokemon Go at some point in their lives, including
if no
myself.
more.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, Pokemon, great choice. And yeah, great set of games. I haven't personally played Apex Legends yet, but I keep watching videos on YouTube and thinking, yeah, I've got to at some point.
The
So yeah,
movements are so satisfying. I love it.
yeah, absolutely. All right, last but not least, Jesse, tell us your games.
My number one game would be Battlefield Heroes, which is a old EA free-to-play game that was out in I think between 2008 and 2012.
Wow.
And I played that for that period of time, like non-stop when I was a kid with my friends.
Mhm.
That was my number one. It was so memey and funny and just still shooting each other, doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
And then now I'd say For Honor is very high on the list as well.
Mhm.
Pokemon as well. A lot of good memories on Pokemon from back in the day. The Assassin's Creed series is also very big in my life. I have basically all of them, and I've played several of them multiple times.
Mhm.
Um, and then last, yeah, a lot of the Wii games, to be honest, like the original Wii games, like Wii Sports,
Wow.
the early Super Smashes, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Oh
that
yeah.
was amazing. I love those. Those were really good times if I think back about them.
Yeah, for sure. I've logged lots of hours on the Wii Super
Yeah,
Smash for sure. And and wait, what was the other one that you said I wanted to talk about? I've totally forgotten. Um
Assassin's Creed,
Oh yeah,
Pokemon,
Battlefield
Assassin's Creed.
Heroes.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
Assassin's Creed. Yeah,
The first two Assassin's Creed games are just they have to be the top of anyone's list. They're just so good. I mean, I love the recent ones. I haven't played Odyssey yet, but
Odyssey is actually really good as well.
I've heard
I'm
really good
very
things.
Yeah, I really like
Yeah.
Greek mythology myself, so that yeah, Odyssey was the perfect fit then.
Yeah.
I also really loved 3 and 4 because of the mechanics.
Yeah.
They just felt so comfortable and as good as Tom said earlier. Like being able to do cool stuff, and you're just like murdering these people in very cool ways, and you're like, wow, that's so cool. And I can like jump up buildings and just assassinate them, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely. Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
I mean,
Every,
I just love 4 because Edward Kenway takes his shirt off a lot. Like,
That's true. That's true.
It's funny because I feel like Battlefield Heroes and Team Fortress 2 kind of scratch that same itch of like a shooter that's at the same time kind of funny. Because I
Yeah.
also played a ton of Battlefield Heroes. Sometimes I'm walking down the street and just got that theme song stuck in my head. Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can still
absolutely.
whistle it.
do it.
Yeah, go on then. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't pick it up with
It
the mic,
cuts
I'm
out.
afraid.
Oh,
It's a
Discord
shame.
cuts it
I
out.
got the first two notes on
Mm.
so I'll include that.
Actually, I
I'll
also
include
kind of
that,
want
and
to
then I'll
see
include the
Bo's
rest of the
Pokemon
song.
drawings.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Want to see my old ones? I might have them.
Yes. Wait, old and then the new ones as well. Just to show how
Oh
much you've
yeah,
improved.
comparison. I actually have a
Yeah.
drawing of that, like side to side.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just want to flex the Scraggy doll someone made for
Oh my
me. Like,
God.
isn't this amazing? I
Oh,
love
Yeah,
him.
cool.
that actually is amazing. Okay, nice. Yeah, really cool answers, guys. Yeah, personally, I grew up with loads of different games. Dark Forces, Star Wars, Command and Conquer, same Tomb Raider, stuff like that. So yeah, I've got so much. I can't pick my top games. It's
Do you have
impossible.
like a favorite multiplayer game?
Favorite multiplayer
Or
game?
it doesn't need to be your favorite, just like somewhere in the top 10.
I don't know. I mean, I played a lot of For Honor. I love For Honor as a genre. I love that medieval. I don't know if you've seen my latest like videos. It's all about the medieval setting right now. So I love For Honor. At the moment, I'm playing a lot of Hell Let Loose, which is a World War II based multiplayer game. Lovely game. Yeah, I've played. I can't think of my top games really, but
What,
yeah,
what's your
I'll
For
have
Honor
to.
faction then?
Ooh, that's tough. All of them. I love all of them. I can't just yeah. We'll circle
Alright,
back to this topic maybe
that's cool.
personally one on one.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. All right.
That's
So coming back to Vedelem, let's talk about how you guys met each other, how you guys decided to come together and start the game. How did it all start, guys?
This is
Yeah.
actually not very inspiring.
Yeah,
No, we didn't have a choice. We just got a list of like different briefs for the project, and
Okay.
we all just happened to sign into the same one. And I'll
Okay.
even have to admit that the Vedelem wasn't my first choice, but the one I wanted to work on got cancelled, so
Oh,
they got stuck with me as well.
what was the one that you wanted to work on?
It was like an educational kids game with a monster and like interactable objects.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Interesting. All right.
Instead, I got medieval raids, which was really fun.
Mongol
I'm really bad
invasions.
now that the project got cancelled though, because I really, really love this project now.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a way we can morph the question then is how did you decide on Vedelem? Was that like it wasn't part of the brief, obviously.
No, no, no.
Yeah. So how did
Originally, the teachers were all thinking about like the Crusades and those topics,
okay, right.
and we kind of very quickly agreed that that was overdone and that we wanted something else, and we
Mhm.
kind of stumbled onto this as a subject, and we very quickly agreed that this was what we were going to make. So I
Okay.
think we were very unanimous on that.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, sounds good.
and
Anybody else
the
got
creative,
something to say on topic? Yeah.
yeah, the creative brief also mentioned that we actually had a time frame of the 13th century. So that was
Okay.
also, yeah, obviously 13th century is it's around 100 years that you can pick a theme from, and then medieval, as Claudia said, was kind of overdone, and you have a lot of games that cover that. And then we actually figured that within the 13th century, the Mongol Empire actually really expanded and also came all the way to Europe.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, as Claudia said, we really quickly were like, hey, that is actually a really interesting setting for the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's an interesting point you make then. So the brief specifically said a certain time period. Were there any kind of other limitations or restrictions that affected the development of the game or your decision to do Vedelem itself? How did that affect your
well,
work?
it said specifically 13th century Europe, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Hmm.
Um, and so there were a couple of other ones, and my colleague should help remember me. It's like it was realistic visuals, 13th century Europe, and there were a couple of others, right? Like castle building,
And a
is
lot
it?
of
Mhm.
units.
A lot of units,
Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah, a lot of
yes,
units. Yeah.
There are a
yeah.
lot of units. Yeah.
Yeah, and so those are the points we kind of had to include,
Mhm.
and that's where we started. We were like, okay, so where are we going to make this place? What is a player fantasy we want to sell? And that kind of influenced the initial concepting phase when it came to this game. And yeah, like Claudia said, the moment we realized, like, oh wait, Hungary was invaded by the Mongols. Hungary is in Europe. Let's do that because nobody wants to see another English versus France game. At least that's
Yeah.
kind of the mindset that we had when we were
Okay.
concepting.
Yeah. Nice.
And the
Good choice.
Mongols had a great design. Like compared to Europe, they really stand out. So there's a great difference we could visualize.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, just for example, thinking of the Total Wars, Attila has to be one of the most interesting ones because simply you can take control of a horde and raise Europe to the ground essentially. So it's a good choice, and it's a great game. So great decisions you got there. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like the brief was quite specific in terms of what you had to do and then the decision you guys came to. So really interesting. I guess
Mhm.
my next kind of question would be when did you start development? And the game is fairly recent, so you must have done a lot of work during lockdown. How did that affect it, basically?
It's fully made in lockdown, actually. We
Okay,
hadn't
right.
seen each other for the entire year. We
Wow.
started
Yeah,
this
we saw
school
each
year.
other
A week
once.
ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
insane. So it started during lockdown, and yeah, how was that experience? I mean, how was the experience of actually developing it compared to maybe games you've developed before during lockdown?
I think it was awkward in the beginning
Yeah,
because
for
we had to
sure.
use Teams and nobody liked Teams. And but we got used to it soon enough. We mostly used Discord anyways. And at one point, we decided to stay in voice channels all days, which was a great decision because then you could always contact your peers and ask for help and etc. or have a fun chat during the breaks or just casually. I do think that a lot of people, especially during the winter period got like very down and needed like more mental support, I guess, because it's rough staying inside, especially
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
the darker days.
Yeah,
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 there's
for
like
sure.
Yeah, I think for me as well, just not having the social aspect of making a game together, that really got to me after a few months. I think I'm not the only one that experienced that in our team, but yeah, for me that really did take a lot of like mental energy out of me.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, yeah, lockdown's been hard on everyone. I mean, I can't imagine, yeah, what it must have been like to go through that, go through a whole kind of focus on one project the whole time and yet not be able to see each other, kind of
Yeah.
experience.
And the communication, as Bo says, also it's a little bit tough, especially in the beginning, obviously, because with game development, you obviously got to talk a lot and communicate the whole time, because you have 17 people in our team, and we're actually one of the smaller teams in our year.
Wow.
You gotta talk with these people because Tom needs to know what's going to happen, what's happening, and what decisions have been made with Claudia and Bo as well, and all
Mhm.
the other guys. And if you're not staying, like Bo said in the beginning, we didn't really stay in the Discord for like the whole time, so it would be like, okay, we have a meeting here and there, and then you would talk to each other.
Mhm.
And then besides that, just kind of typing. But that was so difficult, especially also for planning, for production and stuff, for kind of managing the team and keeping everybody up to date and keeping them communicating with each other. That was very tough. And then
Mhm.
yeah, I think the voice channel decision was indeed one of the better ones that we did. But yeah, some people say like, hey, oh well, it's lockdown and gamers do, they sit inside a lot. And it's like, yeah, we do indeed sit inside a lot of the time, but that is like voluntarily, and we don't like to be inside forced for like the whole time every day, for like a whole year. So that actually made it a little bit tough as well,
Yeah.
not being able to see your team, your friends. Yeah, it's not the same if you're looking at a screen instead of seeing somebody in person.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said there were 17 of you at the moment.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
how many
currently
did you start off with in the
I
team?
think 15. So
Okay. Okay, cool. So it's been quite a fluid kind of working kind of environment because it's all online.
yeah.
And yeah, you just kind of mentioned a few of your challenges that you experienced developing the game. But yeah, do you want to just kind of explore that a little bit? Maybe were there any other challenges that you went through developing it? Not just maybe on the team itself, but the game that you went through.
We only had two designers. If Jesse is a designer, but he mostly does production work. And so during the second stage, which is pre-production, we actually only had two designers on our team. And
Mhm.
normally teams should have around 4 to 6. Some people working on levels, some people working on concepting, some people doing audio, UI, and I was one of those two designers, and so it was like super challenging to pretty much take up around 2 to 3 roles per person, because the other designer Luca, he took up the design lead role, and so concepting and level design and audio all kind of came down on me, concepting done together with him, of course. And yeah, I feel like that was a really difficult period, because you're constantly switching between roles. You're trying to make sure that one part of the team doesn't get behind while another part of the team also doesn't get behind, and all that while also trying to get used to a new online workflow. Just it was a lot. Let's just say it
Mm.
like that.
Okay, right. Yeah. That sounds like a lot. And how about you, Bo, from a kind of character design perspective? Were there any kind of challenges that you went through?
Yeah, I think art in general, we're we were using Unity because it's like PR friendly, and they had Unity dots to create the massive amount of units.
Hmm.
So we had to adjust, but it is hard to use. So we needed a lot of assistance from programming, etc.
Hmm.
And that aside, since it's a top-down view and the things in screen are generally quite small, the poly count needed to be quite low. And those kind of restrictions were very important. LEDs did help a little. The readability was also very important because once again, everything is really small on screen, but you still need to make sure that they are readable and that you can tell the units apart which is the enemy, what specific friendly unit am I using currently, etc.
Mhm.
And of course, the being historically accurate, yet being original and once again being readable, etc.
Mhm.
And one last thing is that we generally, at least as artists, try to create things that look absolutely amazing and put it in our portfolio and then find an internship. In this project, that isn't really a thing because you really focus on what is important for the game and not necessarily what is important for you, your
Personally.
portfolio or
Yeah.
whatever. So it
Mhm.
was a hard thing that most artists had to let go. Like, okay, this full year is not going to be very useful art wise in my portfolio, but we will have a clear, cool game. And that's what we were going for. And I think that went in the end really well.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm really
absolutely.
excited to put this one in my portfolio, but
No, absolutely. I think you guys did really well. How about you, Claudia? Then did you go through any kind of challenges that you want to talk about?
I mean, I think both did a good job mentioning the biggest. I think for me personally, um, learning some new programs because the program we used to texture was Substance Painter, and I'd never worked in that before, so that was a bit of a steep learning curve. But yeah, I mean, Bo mentioned all the main issues, so that's really just a small like getting used to something new. But besides that, I think Bo mentioned everything.
Yeah, cool. How about you, Jesse?
For me, it was actually the first full year of production. So basically, in our study, how we go through it is the first year and the first part of year two, you actually do pure design work, even for production as well.
Hmm.
So the production kind of started in end year two, but then yeah, that's the first experience that you're getting, and then year three is the the first full experience that you're getting. So that was a big challenge. There was a lot of uncertainties for me at the beginning, especially where I needed a lot of feedback from the team. Like, okay, hey guys, is this working? Is this not working? Do you feel comfortable?
Hmm.
And then later on, I think marketing became a big thing
Yeah.
because that was also something that the education doesn't really mention at all, to be honest,
Hmm.
for production. And then in year three, they're like, okay, here, marketing, good luck, because people need to see your game. Because the teachers will be like, hey, yeah, you need to like focus on marketing because you have a good game, but people also gotta know about it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have any experience about it, that takes quite a bit of time to get into and kind of get an idea. Okay, what am I actually supposed to do?
Mhm.
So we had a very chaotic marketing, to be honest, that which was mainly my fault, but it was a good learning experience, let's say, for the least at least for me.
Okay.
Um, but it ended up okay.
Well, I mean, I played it, so
Yeah, I mean we're sitting here now, so I've done
yeah,
some
true.
marketing well.
Yeah. What was your marketing, if you don't mind me asking? What did you do for it?
Yeah, so when I Googled it, the main things that they said for game development were like take your audience with you through the process, kind of pre hype them a little bit to be like, hey, this is a cool trailer. These are some cool shots or some cool images of what we're working on right now.
Mhm.
And then share them on social media like Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, kind of depending where your audience is, of course.
Mhm.
So we tried that, but because we started off a little bit late, we were already a little bit far, so we couldn't really drag the audience ahead for the whole process. But kind of were at the end, we're like, okay, hey, here's stuff. And then I was running around through the Discord channel basically and being like, hey guys, do you have something for me to show to the audience on social media? And then people were like, can you
Right.
just like leave me alone because I'm working on this and we have deadlines and everything. So that made that a little bit tough. And then eventually, I noticed that if you contact some YouTubers or influencers and say like, "Hey, we have a student game and we have some prototypes on Steam that you can try and play," and some people actually get interested. And those for us were the main peaks of marketing and
Mhm.
to yeah get people to, for example, do interviews or just gameplay walkthroughs, first impressions like you did as well on your channel
Yeah.
where people, different people from different audiences see like, hey, there's actually an interesting game. It's not maybe too difficult or uh, too easy for me. Let's give it a go. And then yeah, that kind of worked for us so far.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, then that kind of leads me to another interesting question, which is, did you achieve everything you wanted from Vedelem? Was there anything that you didn't manage to add to the game? Or I'm sure there must be a long list of stuff that you really wanted to do, but didn't really get
Yeah,
the
I mean, I
chance to or
think
had to cut out.
Yeah, I think any project you work on, you'll have to cut out something. Like
Yeah.
you end up with something that is very, very different from what you had in mind originally.
Mhm.
And especially if you only have a year, yeah, we ended up cutting out a lot.
I think one of the biggest one that we can all agree on that we really wanted but had to cut were siege weapons.
Mhm.
Um, we had this awesome idea of like the walls being torn down by all of these siege weapons that the Mongols actually were using during this time period.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just turned out like, okay, this is going to be too much work. It's just not realistic for us to do it. So that's one of the few things that, if given, another, um, like more time, basically, that's something I really want to try and do. But sadly, that probably isn't there.
Mhm. Okay. How about you guys, Bo and Jesse? Anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
art-wise, we only had 4 artists, which is like a lot of work for a little amount of people. So there's a lot of art that would have made it like even better, like more unit types. And we actually bought the horses and adjusted them slightly because we just didn't have the time to create our own. I
Okay.
would love to make them like myself, but there just wasn't any time. VFX didn't make it, would have made it feel more alive, and your buildings would literally burn down with those things we just didn't have the time for, sadly.
Yeah, I think in general, if you look back at what the concepting phase, what like kind of stuff we were writing out on the whiteboards, it would have been one of the biggest games that you would ever see. Because obviously we were imagining like, oh, we're gonna have generals with buffs and nerfs for your troops, and we're gonna have all these upgrades, and we're gonna have so much stuff,
Mhm.
more in depth. Especially for me, I really like the combat. So siege weapons was also a big, big yikes. Like, it's just a shame that we can't really implement that. But at one point, you just have to sit together with your leads as production and say, okay, guys, this is the time period we have left, and this, we have to cut stuff because there's just way too much on our list. But yeah,
Yeah.
especially the combat kind of stuff was for me the biggest shame because I really like tactically putting your armies together, like in, for example, the Total War series,
Mhm.
and then trying to overrun your opponent or outmaneuver them and defeat them.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely makes sense. I mean, yeah, I think part of the video that I made was kind of to highlight that. Yeah, absolutely. As it is, it's a really interesting, fun game that you can just come back to and play again, challenge yourself. But you can really see where it could have gone, where what more
Mhm.
you could have done, just with like small ideas, like burning walls or burning the buildings down, for example. Yeah, you could really see how it could go or what it could have been, basically.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that isn't to say that it isn't an amazing game as it is right now. So yeah, it must have been quite an ordeal actually, just having all the ideas out and having to pick and choose what you could do because of time constraints and stuff like that. So
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
actually something they stress pretty heavily at the start
Mhm.
of our education.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The term for it is killing your babies,
Yeah.
which is that's what they call it. Where
Whew.
you have to get used to just having this amazing idea that you can do because
Mhm.
it's too big. There's not enough time. You're already overworking your artists, so please cut something from the game. And yeah, it's a serious skill that you have to get good at. Like you just
Yeah, get good at
gotta
killing babies.
get good at killing
Yes.
your babies, pretty much.
That's good. I'm gonna
Write
put
that in your resume.
Hmm.
yeah, but absolutely. I mean, prioritizing is an important thing, especially with a big project like Vedelem. So yeah,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense, definitely. Well, kind of going back to the concept, I guess, of Vedelem, the ideas that you had. How did you decide? Was there any kind of process that you came to deciding? Um, well, we've talked about like the Mongol invasion and how you came to that and how that fits in with the kind of time period of the brief. How did you go about, I guess, researching this, and how did you try and incorporate the historical accuracy that you've talked about a little bit already here?
So I think one of the terms that our teaching team uses a lot, and that also somebody from the industry that we actually talked to with the team mentioned, is you got to at one point master the category that you're in. So
Mhm.
before we actually went to the RTS section, I also asked the team, or yeah, said to the team, okay, I would like you guys to really look into, okay, what is this 13th century actually about, you know, on the art side, on the design side, but also the programmers need to know like how the 13th century was going, how the Mongolians actually came to Europe, and what was going on in this period of time, because obviously you don't really get these kind of things in school. And I'm rather sure that not everybody can just like remember, oh, the Mongolians came in this time period and did these kind of things, use these weapons.
Mhm.
So that was actually one of the main focuses in the beginning. Like everybody just basically jumped on research. We're reading, watching documentaries. I remember sharing documentaries within the Discord, and we were all streaming one where we were just watching
Wow.
all documentaries about Mongolians and that kind of stuff,
Nice.
to basically just master this period of time, the short 100 years,
Mhm.
basically, and know as much as you can about it, so we could then apply that to the game as best as we could.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So that was a pretty big actually research period before you started going
Yeah.
into. Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of go on to the game itself, and
Mm.
the patch that you guys have just released, the latest update for the game, and yeah, just tell me about it, guys. What have you done with the patch, and what have you added to the game? Yeah, tell us about the patch.
So with this patch, we basically included the final game mode that we had set. So obviously we have the casual skirmishes that you can play on various levels, like the tutorial, the easy, the medium, the normal, and hard.
Hmm.
Then we also have endless, and now finally with the new patch, we also released the challenge levels, which includes, out of my head, I think around 8 to 10 extra levels with very specific circumstances. For example, we have a desert level where you basically have no resources at all except just a lot of space around your keep, and then it's up to you to defend yourself and build up a castle somehow to defend against the Mongolians.
Hmm.
But we have a variety of different levels with different matrices and different setups, so feel free to check those out. They're live right now. And it also comes with some improvements on the hard mode, if I'm correct, with some balancing,
Hmm.
and yeah, if you want to read for the full patch notes, they're actually live on Steam, so you can check out. There is an announcement event there with the new patch notes where you can read through all the details. Yeah, 'cause I think there's a little bit long to cover all of them right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna be checking it out, and yeah, viewer, if you're watching this and you haven't tried it yet, definitely go on that download and check it out for sure. It should be interesting. I'm actually quite looking forward to trying the levels. I think that could be a really cool aspect to the game. Nice. All right. Well, speaking of the game itself, the latest update, the patch, and moving on to a bit of like what's to come, for the game, Vedelem. If you have any future plans for the game, obviously it's a student project, so be good to see, find out if you have any plans for it.
How
Yeah,
to
so
bring this lightly.
it's the it's a little bit difficult for us because on one hand we're kind of excited and we're happy with the audience that we have in the game that we have
Mhm.
right now,
Mhm.
but our fourth year is basically set up for us to basically go on internships,
Mhm.
exchanges, do personal projects, or even set up a company if we want to.
Mhm.
And therefore, our team is kind of divided with several people that actually already have internships. For example, one of our artists is going to Sweden to Massive. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
And one of our programmers is going to the UK to, what was that again? I think Gorilla. So it's a little bit difficult for us. Some of the programmers or some other developers are still interested in doing some patches and a few updates during the summer.
Mhm.
But after the summer, it's basically, yeah, us continuing with the rest of our education.
Mhm.
And as of now, unfortunately, no further development on Vedelem.
Mhm.
Um, so there might be a chance that there will be some updates during the summer holiday, but that is really out of our own time and
Yeah.
yeah, mood. So yeah, unfortunately, nothing really planned.
Yeah, it's always really difficult um, to know how much you're going to be working on a project once it's not your main focus at school anymore.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because you
absolutely.
you have this amazing project and you're so excited and you want to add so much more, all the ideas that you weren't able to add in the beginning, right? But then
Mhm.
reality hits, and it's like, okay, well, now you've got a new project, you've got a new team, You might be moving cross country, cross region, and so often you have all these amazing plans, but they get put to the side because of the reality that you just have a new project. And so
Mhm.
for me, I want to do a lot of like quality of life things for the project still. Like
Mhm.
Jesse said, mostly just fixing things, adding. For me, it'd be audio. So adding audio to UI that doesn't have audio yet, or making sure that the environmental audio is tweaked exactly right, like I wanted to.
Mhm.
But for like more stuff to be added to the game, we really have to see after the project has kind of ended on the school side to see
Mhm.
like how many people are still interested in doing that, how much manpower we have to be able to get that done. And sadly, we can't say anything about that right now. We just don't know.
Yeah, makes sense. When are you guys being assessed on it?
Next week.
Next week.
Next week. Yeah,
Wow.
Yes.
yeah.
Pray for
The,
us.
the deadline for our log are this Friday. So yeah, that's at the moment a big focus for us as well.
Yeah, wow, absolutely. Damn. Well, good luck to you guys. Absolutely. All right. We're drawing near to the end of our interview here. And I've got one more kind of question to ask you guys. And it's a good one. What would be the ideal game company to work for you guys?
For me, since I've been playing League of Legends a lot, I think I've always like watched with hard eyes to the splash arts that pop up on screen when you're waiting for the game to start, and I was like, I want to be this good. I want to be able to draw this insane amount of detail and get a job at Riot and draw pretty splash arts. And every time I'm like, oh, I've reached a new level of skill in my 2D work, then suddenly Riot has like improved their splash arts again. So I'm like chasing something that keeps on moving. But yeah, it's just that I really like their work, and I generally just like companies that I enjoy the games of. Just like Apex Legends, so Electronic Arts would be amazing, or like smaller companies that still have a game that would interest me would be amazing. And not necessarily like gameplay, but the design and character design, and it would be so much fun to create those.
Okay, absolutely. Nice. Um, how about Tom? What about you?
Well, my answer is already mentioned. It's Riot Games as well for me.
Okay,
I've
wow.
played League of Legends throughout my entire life, ever since I was like, I think it was, I must have been like 12 when I first played League.
Mhm.
And yeah, all the other projects they've come out with, Valorant, TFT, why Team Fortress 2? TFT, I just really love all of their games. I think that the audio in them is amazing. The audio effects, the way they create them. They have an entire series on how they create games. And I often go back to the audio episode because I just keep picking up new things. Um, and another one would be, I know that Supergiant Games doesn't have any audio designers in their studio, but they work together with a lot of studios to create their audio. And I'd really like to
Mhm.
work on a Supergiant game. That just all of their games from Hades to the original Bastion, I just think are amazing. And I think it'd be really a real honor to be able to work on a game made by them.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I have Hades in my Steam list to play as well that I haven't tried yet, but I'm sure it'll be amazing. And yeah, I'm sure they would be pretty awesome to work with as well, for sure. How about you, Claudia?
I don't really have a specific studio that I'd like to work for. Um, I mainly just have like projects that I think are really cool that I would have loved to work on.
Hmm.
Like for example, if I ever got to play, if I ever got to work on a game like Unravel, um,
Hmm.
yeah, you could just bury me right there because that would have been just the best they could get. Just to work on like a game where the whole dev team is so passionate about it and it clearly shows in the game.
Hmm.
I think for me that would be really amazing. And then as well, I think I would just really prefer to work in a studio maybe for a few years or for one project and then move on to a different studio in a different country maybe
Hmm.
because I do really like traveling around. So I would love to incorporate that in my work as well. Just experience many different studios before maybe settling down somewhere. So that's my answer. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of answer. Yeah, you'd have you basically work on projects that are a bit more kind of passionate and maybe even like smaller teams where it's quite kind of focused on one thing. That makes sense. Yeah, definitely. All right, how about you, Jesse?
I think for me, personally, for me, well, like work environment is really important. So I'm really looking, okay, what kind of studios, do not kind of, I don't want to say harass, but really overdo the amount of hours that some developers are making, because some of them are there. So, and I really like the circumstances at Ubisoft at the moment. They're really looking into taking care of their developers and taking care of the team. So that's why Ubisoft's actually really high on the list for me.
Hmm.
But to be honest, to be able to like work on a game like, for example, Call of Duty or maybe new Battlefield, that's also something that I'd say that's pretty cool. But at the same
Yeah,
time, for Honor or Assassin's Creed, working on those would also be amazing. So yeah,
yeah,
one of
absolutely.
those would be hella down for that.
Yeah, 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 absolutely
Yeah,
good
I think
answers.
I definitely agree with that answer though. The whole crunch culture is
Yeah.
something to be avoided at all costs.
Yes. Yeah. It's something that actually our education also really tries to yeah, push in, even though it's a little bit hard sometimes. We had some developers also crunching during Vedelem's development, but
Mhm.
our teaching team also says like try and crunch as less as possible. Like if we go over 40 hours a week, then they actually stop us and say like, hey, okay, you got to calm down now because
Wow.
you shouldn't work too much because obviously your personal health is also very important.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think, yeah, I think that's a really important mindset and something definitely I'm also looking for in a company if I want to work somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like, if you're working on something and you really enjoy it, you're getting fun out of it, then yeah, you can stretch that limit a little bit, but
Hmm.
absolutely. I mean, wherever you're working, if you're going beyond a certain kind of amount, that's yeah, putting a lot of pressure on you, then yeah, you want to avoid that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Okay, well, it's been a great kind of set of answers here, guys. Thank you, and thank you for joining the interview here today and answering these questions about yourselves,
Thank
about
you
the
for having
game
us.
Vedelem and its
yeah.
development. You guys seem like a really cool bunch of just students, developers who I'm sure have an amazing future ahead of you. So thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. And yeah, if anyone has any questions about the game or anything, there's a community Discord that you
Yeah,
can just DM us in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have any further questions that you might want to ask, just
feel
reach
free.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Well, we'll end the video here. Thank you, guys, for being a part of this. Thank you, viewer, for watching the interview. And as Tom said, if you want to get into the Discord and chat with these guys or play the game, absolutely go ahead. And feedback is welcome, obviously. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe the game gets some further updates, maybe not. But either way, it's fantastic right now, and you guys have done it a service. So well done.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right. Well, thank you
All right.
guys, and see you.
Yeah.
Later.
Bye bye.
Yeah.